Right now at 5, authorities search for a man involved in a Friday shooting in Frontenac, Kansas.
And our alert days continue with dangerous heat across the area. Another round of heat index values close to 120. Take a look at that forecast coming up.
Plus, yesterday was National Fentanyl Day. We'll have how one local woman is looking to help raise awareness of the drug.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So it is already hot again out there, and it is going to be dangerously, potentially life-threatening heat once again across the area. That's why we continue with these excessive heat warnings and our alert days as we head through the week. And one thing I've learned, if your school district is doing this, or if you've heard notice, let me know. But of course, my kids are in Joplin, and we got a notice yesterday that for the rest of the week, the elementary school kids not going out for recess this week. And honestly, that's what we were talking about. It's too dangerous. It's too hot for kids to be outside. They're not going to like it, but it's the right thing to do. We still have the excessive heat warnings through 10 o'clock Thursday for southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri, and again through 8 o'clock this evening, and again 8 o'clock tomorrow evening for northeastern Oklahoma. So as I mentioned, Tulsa office kind of going this couple days at a time here. So again, you've got to stay hydrated and take frequent breaks if you're outdoors, limit strenuous activities, wear lightweight, light colored clothing, check on the pets and the elderly and of course the kids, because again, this is it's dangerous and potentially life-threatening heat. We reached heat index values yesterday in some locations in excess of 120 degrees. So we're still technically at this point of heat exhaustion likely, heat stroke possible, but we're getting pretty close in some cases to that heat stroke becoming highly likely. As kids get on the bus this morning, let me move to the other side here. We're looking at 79 at 7 a.m. under sunny skies, and we'll have mostly clear skies by 3 o'clock, 97 again. Heat index values by 3 up there, 115 degrees easy. And right now, this is the insane part. We're at 81 in Joplin, feels like 89. Earlier this morning, still had heat index values in the 90s. Dew point 79, humidity 94%. It is miserable out there. We got 76 Iola, 81 Neodesha, Chanute, Parsons, 79 Pittsburgh, 80 Miami, Neosho. And then you take into account these dew points, which are sitting in the upper 70s, and 80 puts us soupy and beyond, which makes it absolutely uncomfortable. And this is the heat index values we still have at 5 a.m. 88 Chanute, Parsons, feels like 88 Miami, Neosho, Carthage, feels like 89 in Columbus. We'll have another full look at your forecast, and as we've mentioned, there is still relief on the way. We'll look at that as well here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. The Kansas Highway Patrol says they've identified the vehicle and driver that they say were involved in a fatal hit and run in Galena Saturday night. This is surveillance image of that vehicle, a Ford Raptor truck. The crash happened around 11:30 p.m. Saturday on State Highway 66 at milepost 2.9 on the western edge of Galena. Authorities say it involved that truck and a pedestrian, this man, 60-year-old Gary LaTurner of Galena. LaTurner was killed in the crash. His daughter says a lot of people are reaching out to the family.
I mean, hundreds of people have contacted me that I've never even met that have a crazy or funny story about my dad, and it's really shown me with how many shares things have gotten that this town wanted justice for my father just as much as me and my family.
Gary was a fixture in the community. Ever since I was a little kid, he's walked around town, and every time he sees the kids out and about throughout town, he'll stop by and entertain them for a little bit.
There's no word on whether authorities have charged a suspect in that case. And authorities are looking for a man and woman in connection with an incident involving gunfire in Frontenac, Kansas Friday evening. It began at 212 West Lincoln Street, where resident Kenneth Phillips says his motorcycle had been pushed over and someone fled in a white SUV. Phillips says as he ran after the SUV, the driver, 28-year-old Sage Sprague of Pittsburgh, rolled down his window and fired a shot at Phillips in the yard of 601 Mount Carmel Road. Phillips was not hurt. Authorities have since found the suspect vehicle in Cherokee, Kansas. They're still looking for Sprague and his suspected passenger, 27-year-old Kristen Ramesberg of Weir, Kansas. And yesterday was National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day. Law enforcement, the Kansas congressional delegation, and community partners are uniting to bring awareness of fentanyl dangers to the state. One mother in Pittsburgh, Kyle Campiti, lost her son Cooper to a fentanyl poisoning in April. She used yesterday to spread awareness to help save lives and honor her son.
I don't want other people to have to do this. You know, I want my husband, who's a special agent for the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, has spent his entire adult career of 20 plus years fighting the war on drugs. And he feels like he lost that battle.
The campaign is #OnePillCanKill. The initiative will continue all week, sharing resources and information about the deadly drug. And depending on some school systems, some buses don't have air conditioning. Elizabeth Van Matrie explains what Missouri's largest district is doing to help keep students safe during the dangerous temperatures.
It's a busy day here at the Transportation Department getting ready for tomorrow. 106 out of the 150 school buses here for Springfield Public Schools do have air conditioning. But with temperatures in the triple digits, parents and faculty are taking extra precautions this week as kids head back to school. Parents are urged to dress their children light for the first day of school and to make sure that they pack a water bottle for them, especially if they are riding on the bus. An email was sent out to faculty reminding them to be weather aware over the next couple of days, watching out for the students on their buses or in their classrooms, encouraging them to continue to drink water and to provide access to water for them. Each school in Springfield Public Schools does have a school nurse. They're also going to be watching carefully for any sort of heat-related illnesses.
For just that, the heat cramps and profuse sweating that may go then to zero sweating, and that's when you really have a problem.
Parents, the district is sending out an email tonight about their recommendations when it comes to this sort of heat, as well as any first day of school announcements, so be sure to watch out for that.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we'll take a peek inside the Lady Lions' new basketball locker room. Plus, how screen time for toddlers can actually hurt their development. And the heat doesn't let up in the 4 states. We'll see if there's any relief on the way with Chris in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back.
Well, Pitt State track and field alum Cordell Tench lived out a childhood dream in front of a worldwide television audience in Budapest. The Green Bay native represented Team USA in the 110-meter hurdles at the Outdoor World Championships. Unfortunately, comes up just short of the time needed to qualify for the finals, which were held shortly later yesterday evening. Tench finished in 13.49 seconds on Sunday in the event preliminaries. That was good enough to qualify for the semifinals. In the semis, he went 13.31 seconds, so a little bit faster, but not nearly as good as his fastest times from earlier this summer, which we're going to throw on your screen right now. Back in June at the Arkansas Grand Prix, that's where things really started clicking for Tench. Set an all-time collegiate record and facility record of 12.96 seconds. Later in the summer, he qualified for Team USA by finishing with a 13.07 second in the national championships in Oregon. The world champ Grant Holloway from the U.S. won the final with a time of 12.96 seconds, which is second place finisher from Jamaica was 13.07. Missouri Southern women's basketball got a look at its revamped home locker room for the first time yesterday afternoon during their first day of classes for the fall semester. Lions put the new locker room together thanks to the financial support from Brad and Anita Oplotnik. Anita, of course, is a member of the MSSU Athletics Hall of Fame and a former player on the Lions women's hoops team. 2023 Lions, coming off a 29-7 campaign last season, have had to retool with some new faces in the offseason, beginning the year with a scrimmage on November 1st at Wichita State, first official game on November the 10th. Pitt State football in the news over the weekend as D2Football.com releases its annual Elite 100 watch list, highlighting 100 of the top college football players in the country at the Division II level. 30 Pitt State players made the list. Offensive lineman Trace Jeffries, tight end Devin Garrison, and linebacker Dubin Okonkwo. Now, Garrison is the only one of the three on the first team. The other two are on the second team. Jeffries is entering his sixth and final year of college football as a captain for the 2023 Gorillas. Garrison is a senior who caught 7 touchdowns and 614 yards a year ago. And Okonkwo is a redshirt junior who had 39 tackles and 10.5 sacks last year. Well, yesterday's 100-degree temperatures have made an impact on the local sports community for Riverton High School. An outdoor football practice at 3 in the sun, and the heat wasn't looking like a safe option, so they chose between an 8 p.m. practice or 5 this morning. The Rams opted for the much more desirable option in the evening practice under the lights. A team full of 40-plus players hit the practice field with water breaks every 15 minutes to combat the effects of the heat, but the intensity of the practice was still as high as ever as the Rams try to turn things around from last year's one-win season.
We talked about this today. We had a meeting this morning, and the heat's going to make us do something different. The good part is we hope it's only for a week, but these guys got to have some type of adjustment to the heat. It's still warm enough, plenty warm enough, as you can tell, to get that done. But we felt like we would get more done at 8 o'clock at night than we would at 5 o'clock in the morning. The dew's on the ground, so this is conducive to us getting the best practice that we can, and it's closer to game time scenario of when we're going to be playing on Friday nights.
I'm excited about the chemistry we have. I mean, this is our second year with Coach Weaver, but we have a pretty good connection with him. He's our baseball coach, our football coach, and he just tries to do everything with us.
Still to come, we'll have how India and its people are leading a revolution for electric vehicles, plus dangerous heat continues across the area. We'll have another look at that forecast when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:16 now on this Tuesday morning. Excessive heat warnings again, southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri through 10 o'clock this Thursday, and in northeast Oklahoma going through 8 this evening and then resuming tomorrow through 8 tomorrow evening. And again, very likely will continue to be extended as we go through the week. Can't forget to remind you, if you have to be outdoors, which by the way, if you don't have to be, stay inside. It's a lot safer in the air conditioning. You got to stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, check on the elderly, the pets, and of course the kids. And as I mentioned earlier, I know at least in Joplin, they sent out a notice that elementary school kids will not be going out to recess for the rest of this week because the heat's just too dangerous. Our heat index values, again, upwards of 120, perhaps a little higher than that. So heat exhaustion likely, heat stroke possible. And again, we're not far off from heat stroke becoming likely, especially for some of those susceptible populations. Kids getting on the bus this morning about 7 a.m. We're looking at 79 and sunny skies. Heat index values will be in the 80s, lower 90s. And as we head into the afternoon, about 3, we're going to be right around 97. And again, heat index values approaching 110 to 115. We're at 81 in Joplin. Feels like 89 because that dew point and humidity are relentless out there. And that's why our heat index values are so much worse this go around with the heat compared to a few weeks ago. 76 Iola, 77 in Fort Scott, 79 Pittsburgh, 81 Neodesha, Chanute, Parsons, 80 Chatopa, Miami, Neosho, and 78 in Monette. Then we have these dew points that are in the mid to upper 70s, even some 80s out there across the area, and that puts us in that soupy and beyond range, so uncomfortable to say the least, and gives us heat index values of got 86 in Neodesha, 88 in Chanute, Parsons, feels like 89 in Columbus, feels like 88 in Carthage, so an unpleasant start to the day for sure. We're going to be mostly clear, partly cloudy, going through the morning, around 90 by 11 a.m. That's ahead of highs once again, upper 90s, lower 100s, under mostly clear to partly cloudy skies, and that hazy, hot, humid. Man, it's going to be just like it was yesterday out there. Staying hot once again through the evening, 90 by 8 o'clock, 86 by 10. Overnight lows similar to this, upper 70s, lower 80s across the area under those clear skies. We hold on to the triple digits at least now through Friday. We told you yesterday we're keeping it on Friday, and at this point, we are looking to get into the lower 100s. And then as we head into the weekend, that's that relief we've been talking about. We start to see at least a few isolated thunderstorm chances, and look at the temperatures, upper 80s, low 90s. And as we head into next week, we're looking at upper 80s, low 90s, much more manageable temperatures as we head into the next work week. But again, we've just got to deal with this, and this dangerous heat continues now at least through Friday. That's a check of your forecast. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topic Health Watch this morning. As children across the country head back to school, one pediatric group is calling for corporal punishment in schools to be abolished. The American Academy of Pediatrics released an updated policy statement by the Council of Health. It urges that spanking or striking children in schools should be, quote, abolished in all states by law. The AAP says corporal punishment is legal in public schools in 18 states, and nearly 70,000 students are struck at least once a year. And handing your baby a smartphone or a tablet to play with could impact their development. The authors looked how many hours a 1-year-old child used screens per day, and based on the parents' reporting, by the age of 2, children were 3 times more likely to experience delays in communication and problem-solving skills if they looked at screens for up to 4 hours per day. Those who had more than 4 hours of screen time were nearly 5 times more likely to have underdeveloped communication skills. They were also nearly 2 times more likely to have subpar fine motor skills. And healthcare costs are hurting the middle class. That's the conclusion of a new study that shows 25% of middle-class Americans, or about 17 million people, had unpaid healthcare bills in 2020. The study comes from a group called The Third Way, a center-left think tank. It found the percentage of middle-income residents had more debt than lower-income or higher-income Americans. Third Way defines middle class as a family of 3 earning between $50,000 and $100,000 a year. Researchers found middle-class Americans have good health insurance plans. They are hurt by high deductibles and out-of-pocket costs. And long COVID symptoms created more disability than heart disease and cancer. That's according to a sobering new study published Monday in the Journal of Natural Medicine. The authors found that people who survived COVID-19 before they were vaccines were at higher risk for more than 80 health problems for up to 2 years after they got over their initial infections. And that was especially true if they were hospitalized. Researchers tallied the risks and translated the collective toll into a metric called a disability adjusted life year, or DAILY. Each DAILY represents 1 year of health life lost to illness. Man's best friend may be better at detecting COVID-19 than some of the current technology we use. Brian Blackbird has more on how dogs are sniffing out infections.
They are our companions and best friends, and now a growing number of studies show dogs have the power to detect the COVID-19 virus.
One of the investigators from Colombia came out and said that RT-PCR is no longer the gold standard. It's the dog.
Researchers at UC Santa Barbara and colleagues reviewed dozens of studies from around the world. They say the findings demonstrate trained COVID-19 scent dogs are as effective or more effective than PCR tests, as well as at-home antigen tests. The dogs can detect the virus faster and in patients positive for infection but not showing symptoms yet, as well as patients who do not develop symptoms later, which could help stop the spread of the virus.
The diseases increase when they're in a population, basically exponentially. So the longer the wait is between your test and your result, that's a latent period. During that time, you're running around spreading COVID and you don't know it. The dogs with a direct sniff will be done in seconds.
In some of the studies, trained dogs give a person a quick sniff, then sit down to signal the presence of COVID. In other cases, dogs are given sweat samples to smell. Researchers say the trained scent dogs can also differentiate COVID-19 from other respiratory virus infections, which could revolutionize the medical industry. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Another benefit to the trained dogs is that they can quickly detect the virus in a non-intrusive way and without the impact on the environment of single-use plastic swabs. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we're keeping an eye once again on dangerous heat across the 4 states. We'll talk about that and when we might see some relief when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Right now at 5:30, Soaring Heights Elementary welcomes back its students for their first day of school.
And our alert days continue with excessive heat warnings, heat index values as high as 120 again across the area. We'll look at that forecast coming up.
Plus, the Reddings Mill Inn now has a new owner after it hit the auction block.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5:29 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So we once again have dangerous heat across the area, and as I
stop.
mentioned, I know at least Joplin Schools has canceled recess for the rest of the week for the elementary age students. And honestly, we were talking about it yesterday. It's a good call, and I'm sure other districts are probably doing the same thing because it's too dangerous out there. The heat index values pushing 110, 115 during the school day. It's just too dangerous for kids. We still have the heat, excessive heat warnings for Southeast Kansas, Southwest Missouri through at least 10 o'clock Thursday. And again, Tulsa office still doing it kind of 2 days at a time. So they'll run through 8 o'clock this evening and then resume tomorrow and run through 8 o'clock Wednesday as well. But again, very likely that they will be extended as we continue through this week. So if you do have to be outdoors, which by the way, if you don't have to be, just simply do not. Again, this heat dangerous and for some age groups, potentially deadly out there. You need to stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, and of course, make sure you're checking on the elderly. Don't leave your pets outside too long. And the kids, I know mine, they don't get it. They want to go out. They want to play. All they see is the fact that it's sunny and warm. They don't understand that it's dangerous out there for them, and they'll play until they suffer from heat exhaustion because they're having too much fun. So I know it's hard to take the fun away, but we've just got to be safe, and it's better to be safe than sorry out there. So again, heat index values up to 120, giving us the heat exhaustion is likely, heat stroke is possible. And again, yesterday, some of us heat index values above 120, getting dangerously close to that heat stroke being highly likely. And again, for certain age groups, that's a possibility, even in the range that we're expecting as we head through the next several days. Kids getting on the bus this morning. It's going to be another hot one, 79 by 8 o'clock, and so, or by, sorry, 7 a.m., and we're still looking at heat index values, low mid 80s out there, maybe even close to 90 at 7 a.m. And then as we head into the afternoon, that bus brings them home close to 100 degrees under mostly clear skies. And again, heat index values at that point up to about 115 degrees out there. So you've got to take the heat seriously. As we've mentioned, there is a relief on the way, and we're going to talk about that here in just a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Well, a piece of Southwest Missouri history has a new owner. The historic Reddings Mill Inn hit the auction block in Newton County, Missouri. Built back in 1872, the inn traded hands a few times over the years before ending up with its current owner, who's actually a former owner. The final bid went for $380,000. And a new poll finds that the Tooth Fairy is welcome in most homes. Not only is the Tooth Fairy welcome in 81% of homes, 1 in 4 children go to bed early in anticipation of the Tooth Fairy's arrival. Parents also love the Tooth Fairy because it promotes good oral health in their children. Another fun fact, the value of a tooth has gone up 16%. On average, the value of a tooth went up from $5.36 to $6.23. Furthermore, 20% of kids who receive money from the Tooth Fairy also received a physical gift for each tooth they lost. Man, I remember when it was just $1 a tooth. These kids are spoiled. Good for them. Get those teeth. Well, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces the capacity for child care in the state has increased by almost 7,000 since 2022. This expansion includes licensed daycare homes, group daycare homes, preschools, child care centers, and school-age and drop-in programs. Earlier this summer, Governor Kelly announced funding awards to 52 statewide organizations to create new, sustainable, high-quality, licensed child care slots across the state. Provider applications have also increased by 433% in less than a year. A nearly $500,000 grant coupled with a $500,000 loan will help provide high-speed internet in more of Southeast Kansas. The plan will connect 228 people, 6 businesses, and 39 farms in Labette and Montgomery counties. Wave Wireless will make high-speed internet affordable through participation in the Federal Communications Commission's Affordability Connectivity Program. The program aims to serve socially vulnerable communities, which are most rural, remote, and underserved communities. And in Missouri, Jasper County launches an initiative to better understand internet broadband gaps. The results will help the county develop a strategy to improve internet access and connectivity for its residents, businesses, farms, and institutions. The organizers say a critical component of the study is public input, so the County Commission is asking for the public's help to spread the word. If you'd like to participate in the study, head over to KOAMnewsnow.com, where we've provided links for businesses and residents. And it was the first day of school for students in Joplin yesterday. Students at Soaring Heights Elementary arrived bright and early for the big day. We spoke to one fifth grader about why it's so important to start the first day off of school on the right foot.
That fourth grade last year was the best, and I was in fourth grade last year, and so I was part of that. And now we want to make fifth grade the next level, and then keep going and keep going.
So when the students enter the building, it kind of feels like the reward that we have someone who we actually get to share all this knowledge and all this planning, and we've worked so hard to connect and figure out ways to help them grow.
The principal of Soaring Heights Elementary says they have several goals this year. One, they're focusing on improving attendance. And an Arkansas school board has decided that an AP African American Studies course will be offered in the Little Rock School District for college credit. It's a sharp break from the state education officials who earlier this month said students enrolled in the program would not receive credits towards graduation. Nearly 100 students at Central High School had reportedly enrolled in the course this year. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up on this half hour of the KOAM Morning News. As AI becomes more and more advanced, we'll have why actors are worried about it. Plus, the top U.S. general meets with Pope Francis in the Vatican. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back after this, but first, here's a live look from Diamond, Missouri, as today is their first day back to school. Topping World Watch, King Charles III was officially welcomed back to Balmoral Castle on Monday, as is tradition when the monarch returns to the Scottish residence for the summer. This as British police announced an end to their investigation into an alleged cash for honours scandal linked to one of the King's charities. London's Metropolitan Police started a probe of the Prince's Foundation last February. It followed media reports that alleged then chief executive of the charity, Michael Fawcett, helped nominate a Saudi businessman for an honorary title. Two men were interviewed over the course of the investigation, and more than 200 documents were reviewed. No arrests were made or charges brought during the inquiry. And Pope Francis is asking the top U.S. general to consider the civilian casualties of the ongoing war in Ukraine. A spokesperson for Joint Chiefs Chairman General Mark Milley says that the two met at the Vatican Monday. Milley is a practicing Roman Catholic who says he was honored and privileged to have the conversation. He usually wears his formal dress uniform to meet dignitaries, but he opted for a civilian suit for his visit with the Pope. Milley has about one more month before he retires after more than 40 decades in the military. And the Colombian military frees some victims of trafficking. Authorities say 43 turtles were rescued and released on Sunday. There were 40 leatherback sea turtles and 3 grown olive ridley sea turtles. They were all returned to the sea, and the International Union for Conservation of Nature lists olive ridley and leatherback sea turtles as vulnerable, with their populations rapidly declining. India is trying to radically change its environmental footprint, and it's doing it 2 wheels at a time. A combination of government subsidies and local production have seen electric scooters quickly become more and more popular in the country. And some analysts say it could do wonders to help India move away from fossil fuels. Ivan Watson reports from New Delhi.
Even on a good day, the traffic in New Delhi can be pretty overwhelming. But here in the capital of the world's most populous country, dramatic change is in the air and on busy streets. Seemingly overnight, iconic Indian vehicles like the humble rickshaw have suddenly gone electric. India is in the midst of a revolution, a transition towards adopting electric vehicles. This transformation is being led by small vehicles, scooters, motorcycles, and vehicles like this. Two-wheel vehicles vastly outnumber cars on India's roads. With more than 15 million units sold last year, experts say this country is home to one of the biggest two-wheel vehicle markets in the world.
In Indian context, the largest use of petrol is two-wheelers in India. The largest emissions are two-wheelers in India.
Tarun Mehta is the CEO of Ather Energy. He and Swapnil Jain launched this startup in 2013. At this factory outside Bangalore, they manufacture electric scooters.
One scooter rolls out every 90 seconds.
This is just one of at least 10 companies producing two-wheel electric vehicles in India today. The management here say they're not selling any of their scooters overseas for export yet because they just don't need to. Ather says its sales have skyrocketed from just 200 scooters a month in 2020 to more than 15,000 a month today. Electric scooters can cost 30% more than traditional gas-powered scooters, says Ather Energy, and yet it looks like Indian consumers are flocking to this new technology.
We predict that the total two-wheeler market by the year 2030 would be around 25 million units, and out of that, close to 60 to 70% of units sold would be electric.
India is home to many of the world's most polluted cities, but experts agree that the mass electrification of India's vehicles could be a game changer for the environment.
If we can marry the two, combine the EV transition and decarbonization of electricity, then it's really a win-win, and we are going to have enormous environmental and health benefits.
India is on the road to monumental change in its transport industry, a process that will hopefully take pressure off of our planet's embattled climate.
That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:45 now on this Tuesday morning. And I know we sound like a broken record here, but unfortunately, this is just what we have to tell you right now. We still have the excessive heat warnings for southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri, and these run through 10 o'clock Thursday. And again, the Tulsa Weather Service office has been going at this kind of 2 days at a time. So excessive heat warnings continue again today until 8, and then they'll resume tomorrow until 8 p.m. Wednesday. And I'm sure they will continue to be extended, excuse me, as we deal with this dangerous heat. If you don't have to be outside, simply do not be. If you have to be outside, make sure that you stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, and check on the elderly, pets, and of course the kids as well. I know, as I've mentioned, Joplin sent out a message yesterday that for elementary age kids, no recess for the rest of this week. And I know those kids are like, are you kidding me? But they have to understand it's for their own safety. And I imagine other school districts are probably taking similar precautions because it is just too dangerous out there. Heat exhaustion is likely. Heat stroke is possible. We're getting close to that heat stroke becoming highly likely, especially for those more sensitive age groups out there. So you've got to take this heat seriously with heat index values again today approaching or possibly exceeding 120 degrees across the area. Kids getting on the bus this morning, 79 at 7 a.m. And by the time they get home, we're looking at near 100 under those mostly clear skies. And those heat index values, once again, at dangerous levels around, say, 110 to 115 by this afternoon. Already unpleasant. 81 in Joplin, feels like 89. Dew point is 79, and humidity is 94%. And you can even see the haze on that tower cam. We got 75 Iola, 78 Yates Center. So we got those 81s, Neodesha, Chanute, Parsons, 78 Pittsburgh, 80 Chatopa, Miami, Neosho, Carthage, at 79 in Lamar. And then we've got those dew points, which are at unprecedented levels as they are in the upper 70s and even some lower 80s out there. So that goes off the chart of what we're kind of used to. We're beyond soupy. We are miserable is where we're at. And that gives us these heat indexes, 87 Neodesha, 88 Chanute, Parsons in Columbus, feels like 89 in Miami. Now this just updated, now feels like 90 in Joplin. It feels like 90. And it's not even 6 a.m. yet. That's what we're talking about, this dangerous heat. Mostly clear skies, maybe a few clouds, going about 90 by 11 o'clock this morning. Highs today, once again, upper 90s, lower 100s as we head into the afternoon, early evening hours. So when we hit peak heating, that's when those heat index values up there around 120 degrees. No relief from the heat through the evening hours, still 90 by 8 o'clock. And our overnight lows, once again, upper 70s, low 80s out there. However, there is relief on the way. We've been talking about it, and it will get here. Unfortunately, we still have several more days of this to get through. Triple digits at least through Friday. Dangerous heat indexes at least through Thursday with those excessive heat warnings, but there's a possibility they could get extended into Friday. And then Saturday, That's when we get a system in here. It doesn't bring terrific rain chances, but at least brings some thunderstorm chances for us Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But the most important thing is it kicks our temperatures down into the upper 80s, low 90s as we head into the weekend and next week. We just have to get from here to there. Let's check your forecast. We'll be right back after this. But first, we got another live look from down in Diamond as today is their first day of school.
An Australian zoo has turned its furry creatures into artists. Adelaide Zoo shared a video on August 17th showing a zookeeper luring male red panda Robbie to dip his paws into blue paint, then stand on a white canvas, leaving behind some artistic paw prints. The animal artworks were created for the Paws for Extinction exhibition, highlighting the need for conservation. Other animals, including penguins, have created artworks as part of an initiative to keep the creatures mentally stimulated. And a trio of 10-week-old lion cubs at Werribee Open Range Zoo in Victoria have been given their names after an online poll. The 2 males and 1 female were born to mom Nilo and dad Sharu on June 4th, Zoos of Victoria said. The names were chosen through an online poll with more than 360,000 votes. Werribee keeper Ben Gooley says the cubs' names were chosen from languages used in the areas of Africa where the lions live in the wild. And as Hollywood actors continue to strike, a major issue in negotiations is the role of artificial intelligence that could reshape the entertainment industry. Bradley Blackburn explains the promise and the peril actors now face.
Voice actor Chris Shula is a full-time narrator.
Amelia said, "Come on, you two. I'll show you what you need."
Recording audiobooks from his home studio in New Jersey.
I'm working on number 464.
That's a lot of reading.
One 10-hour book takes more than 30 hours of work, but he's concerned artificial intelligence could take away his livelihood.
It absolutely could be an existential threat. It is the time right now where I believe Congress needs to step forward and create boundaries, clear boundaries.
AI is a major issue for picketing writers and actors, including some big names.
We will not be having our jobs taken away and giving to robots.
Fears are growing because AI is evolving so quickly. For example, a company called Speechify can clone voices like Snoop Dogg's.
This is a clone voice.
Or Gwyneth Paltrow's and convert text to speech instantly.
All it takes is the click of a button.
It's not just voices. AI is supercharging visual effects like this technology from Wonder Dynamics that can swap out real faces and figures with 3D characters far faster than ever before.
Sometimes something that will take weeks, we can do in a couple of hours.
Wonder Dynamics co-founders say AI can be a tool for creators and actors.
I think it's creating a lot of opportunities for actors to play more CG characters.
Ty Sheridan should know he starred in Ready Player One, the Steven Spielberg movie that used extensive motion capture.
You're wearing this ridiculous looking onesie and a helmet with cameras. With our system, you don't have to do that. In terms of changing an actor's experience, it's very free in that way.
Actors contending with powerful new technology that's already changing how we're entertained. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The National Association of Voice Actors is calling for ethical use of AI that would limit the use of human recordings for training synthetic voices or offer fair compensation. We'll be right back. This little guy is more than just cute. He could become an ambassador for his rare species. The Oklahoma City Zoo says this clouded leopard kitten was born July 18th after a 90-day gestation period. It says he's so special that he's getting extra care from zookeepers, and they report he's doing well. The facility partners with other zoos to carry out a survival plan for this vulnerable species. When this cutie grows stronger, he's due to become an ambassador for his species at another facility in the association. And it's a happy Monday at the Chicago area Brookfield Zoo after the arrival of a giraffe calf over the weekend. The Chicago Zoological Society says the female calf was born Saturday to the facility's 16-year-old reticulated giraffe, Arnita. The baby is around 6 feet tall and weighs 130 pounds. The calf will stay behind the scenes for a few weeks to bond with her mother before making a public debut. This pregnancy for Anita was confirmed in July of last year, which followed a pair of miscarriages. It is the second calf born to Arnita following a male in 2012, and this is the 60th calf born to the Brookfield Zoo since 1940. And if you love a good panda cam, this next story is for you. This adorable giant panda cub is turning 3 years old Monday. His name is Xie Ju, and he lives at the Smithsonian's National Zoo in Washington, D.C. He's celebrating with a special fruitsicle cake. Zoo officials say this is the little guy's last birthday in Washington. He and his parents are set to move in December.
We've got alert days continuing through Friday with excessive heat warnings continuing at least through Thursday. Well, mostly clear skies to start, near 90 by 11. Highs today, upper 90s, lower 100s again, and heat index values once again pushing close to 120 degrees out there. So again, if you don't have to be outside today, simply don't be outside. But if you do have to be outside, make sure you're staying hydrated and taking appropriate precautions to keep yourself safe out there. No relief from the heat again through the evening, 96 at 6, 90 by 8, overnight lows upper 70s and lower 80s. However, relief is eventually on the way. Triple digits through at least Friday, and then as we head into the weekend, we start to see some light storm chances out there, but better yet, temperatures dropping back upper 80s, lower 90s. And that's Check Your Forecast. We got another hour of the KOAM Morning News.
Right now at 6, authorities in Galena, Kansas identify a vehicle and the driver involved in a fatal weekend hit and run.
And our alert days continue now through Friday with excessive heat warnings and heat index values still as high as 120 degrees. We'll take a look at that forecast coming up.
Plus, law enforcement and state representatives come together to bring awareness about fentanyl addiction.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So we once again have another day of dangerous heat. I know in Joplin and I'm sure other districts, recess for elementary school kids, not happening for the rest of the week as it is just too dangerous to be outside. I know the kids hate it, but it's for their own good. They'll understand it once they get older and understand that heat can be dangerous. We have the excessive heat warnings again continuing southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri through Thursday at 10 o'clock and into northeastern Oklahoma. Again, Tulsa is kind of playing this a couple of days at a time. So these will run through 8 o'clock this evening, resume tomorrow, and run through 8 o'clock Wednesday as well. But again, wouldn't be surprised if they continue to be extended. So we want to continue to remind you of the heat safety tips. You've got to take this stuff seriously out there. Stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit your strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothes, and check on the elderly and pets and the children as well with the susceptible age groups out there. This is some dangerous heat. And of course, the number one safety tip, if you don't have to be outside, don't. It's just, again, too dangerous out there. We are still at this range. Heat exhaustion is likely. Heat stroke is possible. But again, some of us had heat index values breach that 120-degree mark yesterday, putting us really close to heat stroke being highly likely. And of course, that's possible even here and sometimes even in this zone for those susceptible age groups out there. So again, just please take this heat seriously. Kids getting on the bus, it's going to be hot at 7 a.m. We're talking 79 degrees. Of course, the heat index values at that point right around 90. And as we head into the afternoon, that bus brings them home. Boy, they're going to be ready to get inside into the AC as temperatures go close to 100 by 3 o'clock and heat index values at that point pushing 110 to 115, if not close to that 120-degree mark. We do have some relief on the way, as we've talked about down the road. We just have to get from here to there. And we'll look at your full forecast here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Well, the Kansas Highway Patrol says they've identified the vehicle and the driver they say were involved in a fatal hit and run in Galena Saturday night. This is a surveillance image of that vehicle, a Ford Raptor truck. The crash happened around 11:30 p.m. Saturday on State Highway 66 at milepost 2.9 on the western edge of Galena. Authorities say it involved that truck and a pedestrian, 6-year-old Gary Laturner of Galena, who was killed in the crash. His daughter says a lot of people are reaching out to the family.
I mean, hundreds of people have contacted me that I've never even met that have a crazy or funny story about my dad, and it's really shown me with how many shares things have gotten that this town wanted justice for my father just as much as me and my family.
Gary was a fixture in the community. Ever since I was a little kid, he's walked around town, and every time he sees the kids out and about throughout town, he'll stop by and entertain them for a little bit.
There's no word on whether authorities have charged a suspect in that case. And authorities are looking for a man and woman in connection with an incident involving gunfire in Frontenac, Kansas Friday evening. It began at 212 West Lincoln Street, where resident Kenneth Phillips says his motorcycle had been pushed over and someone fled in a white SUV. Phillips says as he ran after the SUV, the driver, 28-year-old Sage Sprague of Pittsburgh, rolled down his window and fired a shot at Phillips in the yard of 601 Mount Carmel Road. Phillips was not hurt. Authorities have since found the suspect vehicle in Cherokee, Kansas. They're still looking for Sprague and his suspected passenger, 27-year-old Kristen Romsberg of Weir, Kansas. And yesterday was National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day, and one hashtag is being used to help save lives. KOAM's Elise Noe tells us how the state of Kansas is raising awareness.
The hashtag #OnePillCanKill is being used to bring awareness across the state of Kansas. August 21st is recognized nationally as Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day, and law enforcement, Kansas congressional delegation, and community partners are uniting to bring awareness to the state. According to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, the state reported over 600 drug-related overdose deaths in 2021. Around half of those overdoses were related to synthetic opioids like illicit fentanyl. One mother in the Pittsburgh area, Kyle Campidi, lost her son Cooper to a fentanyl poisoning in April. She is using today to spread awareness to help save lives and honor her son. She created the Cooper Campidi Fentanyl Awareness Education Initiative to educate youths on fentanyl.
I wanted to create this initiative because I wanted him to live on. I wanted his name to live on, his legacy to live on, his memory to live on, and something good to come out of this.
If you or someone you know is experiencing substance abuse, you can contact the SAMHSA's helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. It's days like August 21st that reminds us that these drugs are in our area, affecting our community, and that education on this topic is of the utmost importance. Reporting in Crawford County, Elise Noe, KOAM News.
You can use the hashtag #OnePillCanKill to show your support for fentanyl awareness on social media. The campaign will run all week, sharing resources and information about the deadly drug. And this intense heat wave can cause issues for your vehicle, so AAA is giving out some tips to help. One is to keep an eye on any corrosive buildup on your battery caused by faster evaporation of battery fluid. Another tip is to make sure your engine's cooling system has plenty of fluid and is working properly. And make sure your tires are properly inflated. Low tire pressure combined with hot road temperatures could increase the risk of a blowout. A piece of Southwest Missouri history has a new owner. The historic Reddings Mill Inn hit the auction block in Newton County, Missouri. Built back in 1872, the inn traded hands a few times over the years before ending up with its current owner, who's actually a former owner. The final bid went for $380,000. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Tropical Storm Hillary pounded Southern California and Nevada with more rain than the region could handle. Plus, as kids go back to school, one pediatric group is calling for corporal punishment in schools to be abolished. And Chris Warner returns with another look at your Tuesday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from Diamond, Missouri, as today is their first day back at school. Topping Nation Watch this morning, one of former President Donald Trump's 18 co-defendants in the Georgia election meddling case has reached an agreement on bond. A bond order of $100,000 for John Eastman is listed on the Fulton County Court website. The conservative attorney's bond agreement stipulates that he will not communicate in any way with fellow co-defendants or witnesses about the case unless through counsel. Eastman also cannot take action to intimidate anyone tried in the case, and the attorney faces numerous criminal charges for his alleged role to help Trump overturn 2020 election results. In Georgia, Eastman is accused of urging state lawmakers to appoint false GOP electors to replace legitimate Democratic electors. Prosecutors also allege Eastman devised a 6-step plan that then Vice President Mike Pence could use during Electoral College certification to overturn Joe Biden's victory. Sources say Eastman plans to surrender Wednesday. And a new study reveals women serving in the U.S. Army Special Operations Forces are still facing persistent discrimination and sexism from their male counterparts. The 2021 study released on Monday by the U.S. Army Special Operations also found that nearly all female soldiers are equipped with poor-fitting body armor. This issue has plagued female soldiers for years, resulting in many of them having to buy their own. The women who participated in the survey described a tireless effort to prove themselves daily. However, men surveyed say they were hesitant or afraid to interact with women in their unit or out of fear of being accused of harassment, assault, or having an inappropriate relationship. The U.S. Army Special Operations Command is currently developing a command-wide dating etiquette course to increase sexual harassment and assault awareness. And as children across the country head back to school, one pediatric group is calling for the corporal punishment in schools to be abolished. On Monday, the American Academy of Pediatrics released an updated policy statement by the Council of Health. It urges that spanking or striking children in schools should be, quote, abolished in all states by law. The AAP says corporal punishment is legal in public schools in 18 states, and nearly 70,000 students are struck at least once a year. The statement also says the practice is most widely used in the South and is disproportionately used on Black students and children with disabilities. The policy authors say age-appropriate, nonviolent behavioral strategies should be used instead. And what's left of Tropical Storm Hilary has moved north of the Rocky Mountains and into the Pacific Northwest. The storm made landfall in Mexico 2 days ago and then pounded Southern California and Nevada with more rain than the region could handle. CBS's Michael Spencer has the latest.
Crews in Cathedral City, California had to use bulldozers to rescue nearly 50 people trapped in 5 feet of mud. Officials say it's more like quicksand, but there will be nothing quick about trying to clear it out.
This is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of cubic feet. You'll see some of the houses. It just went right through them, right through the front door and right out the back.
Tropical Storm Hilary pounded nearby Palm Springs with almost as much rain in one day as the city normally gets in a year.
Who has flood insurance in a desert?
Mud flows derailed a train in California's desert, and in the higher elevations, decimated mountainsides. Steve Markham says the sandbags he put near his home didn't stand a chance.
There's boulders the size of a Volkswagen that are just sitting over there. So strange.
Even on roads that looked okay, standing water caught drivers by surprise. Areas closer to the coast, like here in Long Beach, are dealing with storm debris. The LA River is clogged with both vegetation and trash. Booms are catching much of it so cranes can scoop it out, but officials expect trash will keep piling up as floodwaters move toward the Pacific. Hilary also battered the mountains west of Las Vegas, dumping 8 inches of rain that washed out roads and stranded people in hillside communities. Officials say it's the worst flooding they've seen in 15 years. Michael Spencer, CBS News, Long Beach, California.
Another storm news: about half of the Texas Gulf Coast is under a tropical storm warning. Tropical Depression number 9 is expected to make landfall later today. And that's a look at some of today's top national headlines. Now here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we are continuing to track that dangerous heat across the area. We still have excessive heat warnings out there, and our alert days do continue as we head through Friday now, as we're expecting triple digits through Friday. Heat index values now through Thursday, potentially up to 120 degrees. And as we saw yesterday, some cases maybe above 120 degrees. There is relief on the way that we're continuing to track, which is great news. And we'll take another full look at your forecast here in a few more minutes.
A new 4-part docuseries focuses on one of the best and most controversial teams in recent college football history. David Daniel has a look at Swamp Kings.
College football in the South is way bigger than professional sports.
When you come to Florida, football is the world here.
Everything is win or loser.
When Urban Meyer coached the University of Florida Gators, they mostly won. Swamp Kings, directed by Catherine English, digs deep into that 5-year run.
We kept hearing rumors of this box of tapes under someone's desk.
deep in the depths of the athletic department.
650 tapes, including footage of brutal training sessions.
Urban said, I'm going to treat my superstars like superstars, and I'm going to treat my like
Meyer is candid in the series about how he ran the program and why.
He talks about, player suspensions and the challenges of managing young men. So my impression was nothing was off limits.
English says it took a while to gain former players' trust.
I think they were all very skeptical at the beginning, understandably so, because there was a lot of negative press about that team particularly.
Another Florida Gator has been arrested.
You had never seen a team that was undefeated be so miserable.
Even if they weren't being the best at every aspect of what Urban Meyer demanded or would have liked, they were still absolutely loving every minute of it.
People do not know what it's like to give so much to something.
For the rest of our lives!
That it's everything.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Swamp Kings debuts today on Netflix as part of the streamer's Untold Sports documentary franchise.
Well, you got a hot and muggy start to the day already across the 4 states. Haze visible on cameras around the area. It is going to be another dangerously hot day. We're going to take that full look at your forecast and when we'll see some relief right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Coming up on 622 now on this Tuesday morning. And we're continuing with the excessive heat warnings across the area. Southeast Kansas, Southwest Missouri, still until Thursday at 10 o'clock. And again, the Tulsa office still taking it a couple of days at a time. So until 8 o'clock this evening, and then it'll resume tomorrow and run through 8 o'clock tomorrow evening as well. But again, these will probably continue to be extended as we're going to be dealing with this dangerous heat through at least Thursday, if not now into Friday. So a quick reminder, the number one safety tip that's not on this list, if you don't have to be outside, don't. Otherwise, if for whatever reason you've got to be out there, you got to stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, check on the elderly, pets, and kids, and those susceptible populations. As I've been mentioning, I know we got a notice from Joplin schools that elementary-age children, no recess for the rest of the week, and I imagine other districts are probably taking similar precautions out there because it's just too dangerous. I know the kids don't get it, but we do. We got heat exhaustion likely, heat stroke possible, not far off from that heat stroke highly likely with our heat index values once again pushing 120. And like yesterday, thanks to all the moisture, we're starting to see some fog build in. Denser fog in Vernon and Bourbon counties up to the north. We see visibility down to a half mile in Fort Scott. So if you're traveling 54, 69 in that area, you got to slow down. But we see some patchy fog around the area and varying visibilities across the area as well. As the kids get on the bus, we're looking at 79 at 7 a.m. and probably heat index values around 90, and as they come home at 3 o'clock, we're looking at temperatures close to 100 with those heat index values at least 115. You can see some fog and haze from our camera at 7th and Rangeline, looking now off to roughly the northeast. We're sitting at 81 in Joplin, 89 is what it feels like, 78 dew point, 91% humidity. Because remember, if your temperature and dew point are the same, then you have 100% humidity, and this is just kind of an unreal thing where our temperature and dew point are both so high. We have 75 Iola, 77 Fort Scott, 80 Neodesha, Parsons, Chatopa, Miami, 79 in Neosho, 81 in Carthage, and then we have dew points that are almost in that same area as we're going mid to upper 70s, even some low 80s out there. So we are at the soupy and well above range for those dew points. Putting heat index values out there, 85 in Parsons is what it feels like. Feels like 89 in Miami, 88 in Carthage, 88 Greenfield. So it's already hot and the sun's not even fully up yet. We're looking at mostly clear skies through the morning, near 90 by late morning. Highs today similar to yesterday, upper 90s, lower 100s across the area. No relief from the heat as we head into the evening hours either. 96 at 6, 90 by 8, near 80 overnight, maybe even some low 80s out there. And like we saw, I woke up this morning, checked the Skywatch weather app. Yeah, heat index value at 2:30 in the morning in Joplin, 93 degrees at 2 a.m. There's no relief from this, not for a while. Triple digits now, at least through Friday. That's why we have those alert days, and we may see excessive heat warnings extended to that point. And then we get to the weekend, and that's when our relief gets here, as we see some scattered thunderstorm chances Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and temperatures fall back into the upper 80s, low 90s, and we'll hold on to upper 80s and low 90s as we head into the next work week. But until then, you've got to be playing it safe out there. That's a check of your forecast. Now we're going to send it over to Caitlin with a look at Health Watch.
Thanks, Chris. Well, eye scans may be able to detect signs of Parkinson's disease up to 7 years before a diagnosis. That's according to researchers at University College London. The markers of Parkinson's in eye scans were identified using AI technology. Researchers say down the line, this could become a pre-screening tool for individuals who may be at risk of developing Parkinson's. And there's even more evidence of the benefits of staying physically fit. A new study by the European Society of Cardiology shows physical fitness is linked with a lower likelihood of developing atrial fibrillation and stroke. Researchers found participants who performed better on treadmill tests had a lower risk of atrial fibrillation, which is the most common heart rhythm disorder. Patients with the condition are 5 times more at risk of suffering a stroke. And weight loss surgery may help some women ward off cancer. A study published in the Journal of Obesity found cancer cases and deaths from cancer were significantly lower among women who had bariatric surgery and maintained weight loss versus obese women who did not have surgery. Researchers did not find a reduced cancer risk for men who had weight loss surgery. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, Jasper County, Missouri looks to provide better internet access across rural areas.
And we continue to monitor the dangerous heat. Alert days now through Friday. Excessive heat warnings out there. Heat index values back to 120. Look at that forecast coming up.
Plus, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces the capacity for childcare in the state has increased. We'll have what this means for Kansas.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6:29 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So we've got another day of dangerous heat. In fact, really, you could almost take our forecast from yesterday, record it, and just keep playing it because for the next several days, that's where we sit, is just with this dangerous heat. And I know some of you are probably looking and going, man, you keep saying the same thing over and over. But honestly, we just have to emphasize how dangerous this heat is because some folks, I don't think they fully get it. Kids especially. My kids, my 2 boys, they don't understand that it's dangerous out there. They just know it's sunny and warm and they want to go out and play. What they don't realize is they'll play until they pass out, and that's not safe, which is why I know Joplin schools and I'm sure other districts around the area have canceled at least the elementary level recess for the rest of this week because it's too dangerous out there. We got excessive heat warnings, again, southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri until at least 10 o'clock Thursday, and then we are still playing it a couple days at a time from the Tulsa office for northeast Oklahoma, so it'll run through 8 o'clock this evening and then come back tomorrow and run through 8 o'clock Wednesday, but again, I'm sure this will continue to be extended. So we want to remind folks, the number 1 safety tip, if you don't have to be outside during this heat, simply don't. But if for any reason your job or whatever takes you out there, you need to stay hydrated, take frequent breaks, limit strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, and check on the elderly and pets and children because again, this is dangerous heat. We're at the point of heat exhaustion likely, heat stroke possible, and some of us, especially the susceptible age groups, heat stroke could be highly likely, even with the heat index values at 120. On top of that, again, we've got fog in some of our northern counties, and if you look, there's kind of a haze of patchy fog across the area. Some of it is just haze from the humidity. Some of it's genuine fog because we have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere right now. We got half-mile visibility in Fort Scott, 3.5 in Nevada and Stockton, and just over 3 miles visibility in Pittsburgh. So again, keep an eye out there for some of that dense fog this morning. Kids getting on the bus at 7 a.m. We are looking at 79 degrees, and what also means heat index values pushing about 90. And then as we head home around 3, we're looking at close to 100, and again, those heat index values could be as high as 115 at that point in the afternoon. It's already hot and muggy and miserable out there, but one thing we've been talking about is as we get closer to the weekend, we do get closer to a nice break from this heat. We'll take a look at your full forecast here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces the capacity for childcare in the state has increased by almost 7,000 since 2022. The This expansion includes licensed daycare homes, group daycare homes, preschools, child care centers, and school-age and drop-in programs. Earlier this summer, Governor Kelly announced funding awards to 52 statewide organizations to create new, sustainable, high-quality licensed child care slots across the state. Provider applications have also increased by 433% in less than a year. And nearly a $500,000 grant coupled with a $500,000 loan will help provide high-speed internet in more of southeast Kansas. The plan will connect 228 people, 6 businesses, and 39 farms in Labette and Montgomery counties. Wave Wireless will make high-end internet affordable through participation in the Federal Communications Commission's Affordability Connectivity Program. The program aims to serve socially vulnerable communities, which are most rural, remote, and underserved communities. And in Missouri, Jasper County launches an initiative to better understand internet broadband gaps. The results will help the county develop a strategy to improve internet access and connectivity for its residents, businesses, farms, and institutions. The organizers say a critical component of the study is public input, so the County Commission is asking for the public's help to spread the word. If you'd like to participate in this study, head over to KOAMnewsnow.com, where we've provided links for businesses and residents. And an Arkansas school board has decided that an AP African American Studies course will be offered in the Little Rock School District for college credit. It's a sharp break from state education officials who earlier this month said students enrolled in the program would not receive credits towards graduation. Nearly 100 students at Central High School had reportedly enrolled in the course this year. And it was the first day of school for students in Joplin yesterday. Students at Soaring Heights Elementary arrived bright and early for the big day. We spoke to one 5th grader about why it's important to start the first day of school on the right foot.
That 4th grade last year was the best, and I was in 4th grade last year, and so I was part of that. And now we want to make 5th grade the next level, and then keep going and keep going.
So when the students enter the building, it kind of feels like the reward that we have someone who we actually get to share all this knowledge and all this planning, and we've worked so hard to connect and figure out ways to help them grow.
The principal of Soaring Heights Elementary says they have several goals this year. One they're focusing on, improving attendance. And a new poll finds that the Tooth Fairy is welcome in most homes. Not only is the Tooth Fairy welcome in 81% of homes, 1 in 4 children go to bed early in anticipation of the Tooth Fairy's arrival. Parents also love the Tooth Fairy because it promotes good oral health in their children. Another fun fact, the value of a tooth has gone up 16%. On average, the value of a tooth went up from $5.36 to $6.23. Furthermore, 20% of kids who received money from the Tooth Fairy also received a physical gift from each tooth they lost. And that's a look at your top news stories coming up on this half hour of the KOAM Morning News. Why Americans might need to be more patient when it comes to their UPS package deliveries.
Plus, we've got the dangerous heat. Take a look, some fog, some haze across the area as well. Lots to discuss in that forecast when we come back. But first, we're going to take another live look from Diamond as today is their first day back at school.
In Consumer Watch this morning, Americans will soon know if they will need to be more patient with package deliveries. UPS workers are voting on a tentative labor contract, which was recently agreed upon by the company and the Teamsters Union. But if the employees give it a thumbs down, a strike could be imminent. John Loring reports.
There's no other delivery service that can make up for the work that our workers do.
We all know what Brown can do for you. UPS officials say they averaged delivery of more than 24 million packages per day last year in more than 220 countries and territories.
Yeah, at least probably a couple times a month.
UPS and Prime, and you see the Prime vans all around.
However, there's a chance UPS workers will slam the brakes on those trademark brown bands. Roughly 340,000 UPS Teamsters are voting on the tentative deal for a new contract that was agreed upon by UPS and the Teamsters a few weeks ago. In a statement, UPS CEO Carol Tomei called the tentative labor deal, quote, a win-win agreement on the issues that are important to Teamsters leadership, our employees, and to UPS and our customers. A final tally on that deal is expected Tuesday afternoon, and if the rank-and-file employees vote no, it could lead to one of the largest strikes against an individual U.S. employer in U.S. history, do significant damage to the U.S. economy, the nation's supply chain, and, of course,
I would imagine a lot of things wouldn't get delivered.
Among the sticky issues that caused problems with the contract negotiations were higher wages for employees, both full-time and part-time, and the tightening of pay gaps between UPS workers. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
If the workers vote against the tentative schedule, then there's no word yet on when a potential strike would start. And the amount of money Americans want to switch jobs has reached a new high. According to a survey from the New York Federal Reserve Bank, Americans on average say the lowest pay they'd accept to change jobs is just under $79,000. That's up from a little over $72,000 last year. Nissan is recalling more than 236,000 Sentras because of potential steering control issues. The recall covers models from the years 2020 through 2022. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the vehicle's front suspension tie rods can bend or break, which could cause drivers to lose control of steering and crash. Owners of the impacted cars can go to their dealer for a free repair. And Trader Joe's is announcing another big recall, this time for multigrain crackers with sunflower and flax seeds. They may contain bits of metal, and the recall covers crackers with a best if used by date between March 1st and March 5th of 2024. That's it for Consumer Watch. Now here's Chris Warner with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, our alert days continue through Friday as we continue to deal with the dangerous heat. As you can see, even from the MoDOT camera at 32nd and Rangeline, we also have some fog out there across the area. No dense fog advisories at this time in our immediate area, but you do need to watch out for some patchy fog. As I mentioned, though, dangerous heat continues. We're going to dive into your full forecast and when we might see some relief here in just a moment. We're also about ready to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, and you see those are coming up after the break. But first, these fine folks are getting ready to bring us CBS Mornings. Why don't we check in with them and see what's happening on CBS Mornings?
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, Anthony Mason talks with Grammy and Pulitzer Prize winner Rhiannon Giddens, master of stringed instruments. Even wrote an opera on the banjo. Didn't know it was possible. You will not want to miss this conversation. That is coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, time for some Tuesday birthdays in the 4 states, and we are going to begin in Carl Junction with Rome Huffam, celebrating birthday number 7 with love coming from Mom, Dad, London, and Easton.
All right, and over in Oswego, Kansas, happy sweet 16 to Lily Baker with love from Mom, Dad, and Claire.
And we've got Tanner Stone also celebrating sweet 16 over in Pittsburgh with love coming from Dad and Charity.
And over in Riverton, Kansas, happy birthday from the whole family to Kim Mitchell. Happy birthday, Kim.
And we've got Julie Jones in Girard celebrating birthday number 37. And that very exciting photo was taken at the summit of Mount St. Helens.
And happy birthday to Michael Slager over in Baxter Springs. Your message says, happy birthday, handsome, from your wife.
All right, and we've also got Laura Boyd Stone celebrating a birthday also in Baxter Springs. Happy birthday, Laura.
And happy 48th birthday to Mandy Wilson over in Joplin. Love, Charity.
And we've got Bob Cook celebrating another year wiser in Columbus. Happy birthday, Bob.
All right, now it's time for the Lovebirds over in Galena, Kansas. Happy 2nd anniversary to Terry and Crystal Hawkins.
And in Chanute, Brad and Amy Allman celebrating 26 years of a wedded bliss. Happy anniversary to the Allmans.
And happy 58th anniversary. Wow, they're getting out there. That's amazing. Over in Crestline, Kansas, to David and Marlene Clark.
And in Mulberry, Bill and Clarice Sweezy celebrating their 70th anniversary. A very happy anniversary to Bill and Clarice.
Amazing. And right here at KOAM, our commercial producer, Sonia Barker. Happy birthday, Sonia. Thank you for all you do here at the station.
Yes, thank you very much. Sonia does put in a lot of work behind the scenes that you don't see unless we're in a commercial break.
That's
and
right.
We have one of those coming up here in a little bit, but we still have more birthdays to get through, including Dennis Helton celebrating birthday number 79 in Fort Scott.
And a big happy birthday to Robert Herder, who is 101 years old today over in Chinook, Kansas. Happy birthday, Robert.
All right, this has to be one of the best birthday lists we've had in a while, and a ton of photos and notes in there. We want to continue this. Caitlin, what do they need to do?
Oh, you know what you need to do. You need to submit your birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@koamnewsnow.com. Be sure to include pictures and messages so we can highlight you and your loved ones on your special day.
And of course, while you're on our website, make sure you take time to check out the KOAM Birthday Club. It is easy to sign up for. In fact, it is free. And what you do is you get special deals from local businesses. You also get a happy birthday message from your friends here at KOAM. So make sure that you take time to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. All right, so we got a lot of weather to talk about. It's the same weather, but we just have to continue to emphasize this heat and when we're going to see some relief. So let's go into this. First up, the excessive heat warnings. These continue southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri until 10 o'clock Thursday night. And that's not surprising, given that at 2:30 this morning, when I woke up, Skywatch weather app, heat index in Joplin was about 93 degrees at 2:30 in the morning. That's why these run so late Thursday, because this heat is just holding on. Tulsa, still doing it a couple of days at a time. So until 8 p.m. this evening, and then the excessive heat warning kicks in again tomorrow, and will run through 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. And again, will very likely continue as we go through the next few days here during this dangerously hot week across the area. So again, the number one heat safety tip, if you don't have to be outside, don't be. Otherwise, you need to stay hydrated, take those frequent breaks, limit strenuous outdoor activities, wear lightweight, light-colored clothing, check on the elderly, the pets, and the kids. And as I've mentioned, I know we got a note from Joplin schools, and I imagine other districts are probably doing similar things. Elementary school students, no recess for the rest of the week. And I know you kids are sitting there going, why even go to school? But honestly, it's for your own safety. This is dangerous heat. We're not messing around out here. Heat exhaustion still likely, heat stroke possible, and of course for the susceptible populations, we're talking heat stroke is highly likely, with heat index values today once again pushing 120 degrees. And like yesterday morning, because our humidity, our dew point, there's so much moisture in the air, which is why these heat index values are so miserable. We have some patchy fog around the area, and some of it's been dense in locations, but as you can see, it's kind of everywhere. There's really nobody except Bentonville with about 10-mile visibility. Everybody else has some kind of reduced visibility, so make sure you slow down, give yourself time to get where you're going this morning. As we take a look into the morning, 7 a.m., kids getting on the bus here in a few more minutes, looking close to 80 degrees for some of us. Heat index values probably close to 90 here in the next 10, 15 minutes. And as they get home at 3 o'clock, we're looking at temperatures close to 100. That's when we'll start to see those heat index values close to 115 degrees, if not a bit higher. It's already 81 in Joplin, feels like 89. You can see some fog and haze out there on our camera at 7th and Rangeline. Dew point 78, humidity 91%, miserable conditions all around. Temperatures around the area, very warm start, 75 in Iola, 77 Fort Scott, 80 Parsons, Neodesha, 79 Miami, Neosho. And then we take a look at those dew points, which are also extraordinarily miserable, as they are in the mid to upper 70s, and we still even have some 80-degree dew points out there, which of course goes beyond our scale. Soupy. You go up to 80, we're talking just miserable. It would be the word to use, because it is awful out there. And we still have these heat index values, 85 in Parsons, 84 Columbus, 83 Miami. It feels like 87 in Neosho this morning, and 88 Carthage and Greenfield. So a very uncomfortable start. Now as we get into the morning, We're going to have those partly cloudy to mostly clear skies, temperatures up to about 90 by 11 o'clock this morning. And then we're looking at highs today that are going to be unpleasant. As I mentioned, we do have some relief on the way. We're going to take another look at your forecast for the rest of today and the week ahead. And that's coming up after the break. Also, when the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m., we're going to take a trip to Midland, Michigan, where a baseball field is making the game accessible for everyone.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The Kansas Highway Patrol says they've identified the vehicle and the driver they say were involved in a fatal hit and run in Galena Saturday night. Authorities say it involved that truck and a pedestrian, 6-year-old Gary Turner of Galena. Turner was killed in the crash. His daughter says a lot of people are reaching out to the family. There's no word on whether authorities have charged a suspect in that case. And authorities are looking for a man and woman in connection with an incident involving gunfire in Frontenac, Kansas, Friday evening. It began at 212 West Lincoln Street, where resident Kenneth Phillips says his motorcycle had been pushed over and someone fled in a white SUV. Phillips says as he ran after the SUV, the driver, 28-year-old Sage Sprague of Pittsburgh, rolled down his window and fired a shot at Phillips in the yard of 601 Mount Carmel Road. Phillips was not hurt. Authorities have since found the suspect's vehicle in Cherokee, Kansas. They're still looking for Sprague and his suspected passenger, 27-year-old Kristen Romsberg of Weir, Kansas. And yesterday was National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day. Law enforcement, the Kansas Congressional Delegation, and community partners are uniting to bring awareness of fentanyl dangers to the state. One mother in Pittsburgh, Kyle Compiti, lost her son Cooper to a fentanyl poisoning in April. She used yesterday to spread awareness to help save lives and honor her son. The campaign is #OnePillCanKill, and the initiative will continue all week, sharing resources and information about the deadly drug. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces the capacity for child care in the state has increased by almost 7,000 since 2022. This expansion includes licensed daycare homes, group daycare homes, preschools, child care centers, and school-age and drop-in programs. Earlier this summer, Governor Kelly announced funding awards to 52 statewide organizations to create new, sustainable, high-quality, licensed child care slots across the state. Provider applications have also increased by 433% in less than a year. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
As you head out the door, excessive heat warnings continue. 120-degree heat index values possible. Highs today, once again, upper 90s, lower 100s. No relief from the heat through the evenings. We stay in the 90s. Overnight lows, upper 70s, low 80s. We hold on to the triple digits and that dangerous heat at least through Thursday, if not into Friday as well. That's why we have alert days through Friday. And then take a look Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We have some slight thunderstorm chances, and we also have relief from the heat. We finally get back into the upper 80s and lower 90s.
And coming up today at noon, we're making shortcut fruit crepes in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM, of course, with CBS Mornings.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, you probably know artificial intelligence can write essays, create music, and even make pictures. But what if the technology was also able to predict what your brain was thinking?
I think the technology would become terrified if it could predict what my brain was thinking. Plus, Charlene Patton coming back from Topeka, and she's going to show us how to make apricot summer coffee cakes.
Hey.
Sounds pretty delicious out there. However, that's going to wrap it up for us for now, but we will be back with you tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.